Hello and welcome to the stream today. It's the 28th of May. I can hardly believe it. We're almost at the end of May already. If you're watching, please leave a little message in comments, either in a YouTube comment or in Facebook, to let me know that you can see me and hear me okay. Actually, just as I said that, I realised that I haven't put my second mic on yet. So it's going to be a bit quiet until I get the other mic on. Thank you, Mariana. That should be better. Yeah, so I'm undecided about what to do today. I mean, usually, obviously, I'm going to be doing the painting. And I've got some, these are actually my favourite roses that grow in the garden. I painted a lot of them last year in summer. And I've been waiting with bated breath, and just the last few days they've started opening, and they're properly open now. Good morning, everybody. And they're ready to paint. But the sun is already travelling into the studio. I'm late starting today because I've been editing video all afternoon. And I don't know if you've ever edited video, but it's one of those obsessive tasks that once you get into, you just lose track of everything else. And I suddenly realised, oh God. Usually I start setting up about an hour before. So, yeah, aren't they beautiful? They're absolutely lovely roses. So I think I'm just going to do what I would normally do at this stage of a painting. But I kind of have got a setup, but I'm not convinced about it yet. Usually the setup is, it's the bit that you don't see. I think one time on one of these streams I went through setting up a subject, and I spend sometimes as long. Thank you, Anne, that's good to know. Do I know the cultivar? Miriam, I don't know what it is. I really don't know. I haven't tried to look it up, though. There's just one big bush in the garden, and I've been looking after it really carefully. I started pruning it back last year in autumn, and I'm watering it every day, and it's just resplendent with flowers at the moment. They're all coming out. If anyone can guess what that might be, I would love to know. I'm going to look it up and find out. Thank you, Deborah. So, at this stage, let me show you something. What I'm gonna do is I'll show you a couple of things first. Oh, first, let me show you the painting that I was working on Tuesday. This is done now. I think the camera's a bit dark. Let me maybe I'll bring the exposure up of the camera a little bit. And it was one of those, well, there's maybe a couple of little bits I might decide need touching up, but overall I think this one is pretty much done. All I really did was I didn't do a lot more on it. I mostly worked on the main rose and tidied up the leaves a little bit in places. I'm really happy with how it came out. Managed to add some details without losing the structure, which is pretty rare for me. So this is a Gertrude Jekyll rose. Someone told me the other day, and I've been looking up Gertrude Jekyll and learning about her. Really interesting woman. So what I mostly did was resolve the shadow area and add some details around here. Finished off this bit. Didn't do much here. I decided to leave this like really kind of loose as it is. I'm really happy with this one. Can't wait to paint some more of these roses. And I'm just really happy with how it came out. And I've got some panels ready to go now. These are, I just want to show you these quickly. These are ampersand panels. But they have quite a bit of tooth, and increasingly I like to work on quite a slick surface. So I've primed these with a white lead, and they're incredibly smooth now, but they're not completely flat because I smoothed it out with this, with the curved edge of this. So this is lead white, and it's dry. And I think I'll be able to get some beautiful effects once I put oil over that. But I don't want to waste one of them today because I've only done 2 of them as a test. And I don't have enough time to get far enough through a painting. And if I leave it overnight, these beautiful effects you can only get those while the oil is still fresh. Let's go back onto the main camera, because I think what I'm going to do, I'll leave that up for a second because I'm going to bring the main camera over and I'm going to put it on the setup. Let's see if it will reach. I'm not sure if it will. I'm just going to leave that rose up for a second while I reset up this camera. Yeah, I think I can get it. Need a bit of focusing. Let's see if I can switch over. The difficulty of changing cameras around when I'm live is that there's a really good chance that I'll get in front of them. It's almost guaranteed, actually. But you can see, let me show you a little bit of the setup. So this is on a still life stand. This is just a board of MDF, and this is a prayer, like a little prayer. You couldn't call it a stool, but it came from India. And the sadhus kneel on these so they don't have to sit directly on the ground, you know, when they're praying. So the roses, what I wanted to show you was this. This little thing here is one of these, and you take the rubber end off, fill them with water, and then you put the rubber end back on, and you can put rose inside it, and then you can lay them down and they'll stay alive. And I'm actually really tempted to I'm going to do it. I'm going to try something different. I kind of like this, but the balance of the composition isn't quite there. It's not quite working. If I fill that up, you know, if I'm not feeling like, if a subject isn't really grabbing me, then I'll just play with it until I find something that really does. And a lot of it is just about, you see, and then you just pop this through the hole. A lot of it is about the shadow and the light. And also the positions of things. You see, I'm wondering if I could make a nice setup to kind of, with the roses like this. And that actually might be a really nice approach. So the other thing that I do generally is I have, so this here, I'll use these a lot. This is just foam core. I've got a grid on it as well. And you can hold these up. They're outrageously useful. You can hold them up in front of a subject. I'm just trying to line this up right with the camera so you can see how I would use it. You see how you can, that's looking more like a painting to me. That's looking like, but maybe not, there's not enough light and shadow, so if I turn that rose around facing the light, it might work better. And to create the shadow on the background, this is just a neutral board that I painted, but I use these a lot. It's just a piece of card that I put there, and it creates this kind of luminous shadow and drops the value of the background. I really like, that's kind of looking slightly sort of mysterious like that, with a lot of the shadow, a lot of the roses in shadow there. That I really like. I think that might be the beginnings of something there. If anyone can tell me what these roses are, and then I'm all ears. You can try it. You know, you can try it different ways as well. You can try different crops like that. But what I'm mostly doing when I'm looking at this is I'm squinting down and I'm looking at light and shadow shapes to see if I've got something that I think is going to work. And it doesn't matter having this thing in there, you know, you can just not paint it. Let me bring, I think the exposure with this camera is a little bit high. I wonder if I bring that down a bit, it will help to see a bit more the setup as I'm seeing it. Belinda's Dream. Oh, I hope they are. I hope they are Belinda's Dream, because I like that title. I like that name. So there's something nice going on there. I'll try and arrange the shapes a little bit better. But I don't know, I mean, they will change, obviously, the roses, though. I haven't done a rose painting with them in this kind of position for a long time. Now we're starting to get a bit more of an interest between the big one and the small one. What would happen if I turned that? So you can see how having one of these little viewfinder is so handy, because it really lets you play with the shapes. If I have these roses this way around and bring that one in there, then I get a gradual increase in size. Oh, that's quite nice, because it's created a curve as well. Ooh. What do you think? Does that look like a painting? So squint down and look at it and have a look at the pattern of the light and the shadow. That's what I'm mostly looking at when I look at this. And you know, I could try and arrange them in different places, but that's looking like it could make a really nice painting. I'm trying to bring a bit more light into the big rose. It should probably be off on its own a bit more. That's looking like it might well be a painting to me. It looks like it would be quite hard. But there's something happening in the composition now, you know, which is, yeah, maybe. That one might be it. So, are they a type of garden rose, Diane says? Don't know if you call them that in England. Yeah, I suppose you would call them garden roses. Well, they grow in the garden. They were just here. That's a really obvious thing to say, I'm sorry. They were just here when we moved in, along with the rose that I painted the other day. Ooh. Now there's a thing. That happened to be there because it had some water in it. I wonder if that could be an interesting compositional. There's another possibility there. It makes some interesting shapes though, doesn't it? But it takes the emphasis away from the roses. I think I do like that though. I like that a lot. would make possibly a very interesting painting. The other thing you can do with these is you can, if you put it very close to the setup, you crop the image quite tight, and if you pull it right back, and you can see a lot more, you know, so it gives you, that's an interesting, I'm kind of liking that actually. It's like you're waiting for the roses to go into the pot. The pot is a Wedgwood English, an old English one, the teapot. But then it detracts from the roses too, so perhaps not. See, the next thing I want to do, this was my plan for today before I got to the point I'm at now. I'm going to switch over to the palette now because I want to show you something on there. The next thing I would do with this is I want to know really what those colours are, because you can kind of see it here as well, is that you've got the deeper like purple reds here, going out to really low chroma pinks here, and deep inside, if you look carefully, there's an orange yellow just right at the foot of the petals before they go green. Isn't that beautiful? So you know what's going to come next, right? The Munsell book. So I always start with this. So my version of the Munsell book is a very old one. It's like about 10 years old, and they made them a lot. They used to make them a lot stronger than they do now. Let's pick out some pages that might be useful to us. So you can think of these as purples or magentas or whatever you like, but in Munsell terms, this is 2.5 RP, which is red purple. I suspect that this is a little bit too, you know, we want to be more towards red. Let's go a couple of pages over, that's 5. So it's 2.5, 5, the next one will be 7.5 as they go around the hue wheel. I think we're probably closer then, but maybe we might need to be a little bit more red for the centre. So it goes 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10. I think that's gone too red. That's pretty close to parts of it. So right on the outside here, I wonder what these petals are. They're actually lower chroma than that chip. Kind of hard to judge. But that's the value. I mean, they're right near the top of the value scale. Very, very low chroma. And they're so thin that if you put your finger behind them, it changes the colour. I think that's close, and this is, in Munsell terms, that's 7.5 RP. But the chroma, interestingly, is still too high. And what you have in the Munsell book is these, which represent near neutrals. So if you imagine this as being, well, this is chroma from very intense colour to very, very near to neutral. And this is like one step further down, all of these. So this is like 5 RP. This is 10 RP. So let's try this one here. RP just stands for red purple in Munsell terms. That's really close. Maybe we could go down a value. So these are all the same hue. Maybe we could go down a value. I'm interested in, I think that's closer, but I think it's too, blue. So these ones are going more red. I think that's it. Obviously it changes colour from dark to light. Is it a little bit too dark maybe? It's difficult to judge them exactly, and I think the value is somewhere in between the two. So the light petals, I would say, is somewhere around there. Very lightest petals in the ring around the edge. Keep that one out as well, which has a bit higher chroma. So what this does is it tells me the colour area that I'm in. I was watching Kathy Speranza's really brilliant rose painting video, the first one in her series, the other day, and she was saying, she calls it the world, like, am I in yellow world? Well, this is, in Munsell terms, this is red purple world. I think we need to be a bit more blue. So this one, 5 RP, is like the middle of red purple world. And I think it's pretty certain that there are some colours in these more surrounding areas around here that are closer to this. But then as we head inside, as it goes further in, it goes more towards red. Now you could say warmer if you like. I prefer to think of it in terms of the hue. We've got a chip missing. I must have had it out, presumably for, it would go there. That's the highest chroma. It was for the other rose that I just painted. Parts of it actually do go that high in chroma, I think. And then right in the middle, it goes to orange. The only way I can really get right in there, I don't know if you can see it. Perhaps the camera is too blown out. Let me bring down the... This is actually what you're getting to see today is like the full process at the start of a painting for me. The sun is quite strong in the studio now, so I'm just trying to bring the camera down a bit, the exposure down a bit. Make it easier to see. Yeah, so this is like the full process that I would normally go through. If it's a subject I haven't painted like this, I haven't painted this subject for a long time. You see that? This is where the big book is really, really handy. So I'm starting to build a colour picture just of the locals of this rose. But that's not enough by itself, you know, because you have to manage the light and the shadow. What are those colours right in there? It's like a green. It gets to right in the middle. So I have a feeling that right in here, I've got to bend the petals back. I don't know how clearly you can see that, but there's a yellow in there. It's probably lower chroma than I think. It's more yellow than that. It's subtle. Oh yeah, there, it's about that. So you would probably just grab some cadmium yellow and stick it out, but actually it's really, really subtle. Maybe slightly higher chroma. And it does go slightly more towards green in places. So I probably want a touch of that. This is, I mean, yeah. Aren't these colours looking beautiful? All of this complexity inside this little rose. And as it goes into shadow, like if I hold the rose like this pink area is in shadow now. And when these kind of pinks go into shadow, they turn more towards red, and obviously the value goes down. So I personally, for me, because I've painted a lot of cubes and spheres trying to find those colours, I'd go straight to something which is much more red. Now I'm talking about conceptual light and shadow. So this is much more red, and I'm going to be down the value scale. You notice how this red reaches its highest chroma at a low value. This is 2.5R. So if it was like that, and I wanted to judge that shadow colour, that's probably, the chroma is a little bit too high, but it's not far off. Maybe a little bit too red as well, but it's fairly close. So if I had one that was in shadow, you see, I can get really, really close to what the colour actually is, and then I can decide, like that would be the shadow colour. And then I can decide, as I paint it, where I want the values to be. So I can decide to move this value up or move it down in any of these, but I know the chromas pretty much, and the hues, and that gives me pretty much everything I need to paint it. Now I'm not going to be able to go any further today. I'm not going to start painting because hopefully this rose is going to survive like this. Let me go back onto the main camera. So obviously when you're in this situation, you've got 3 dimensions. So now I have to think about the value balance, and the value range that I can see there is much higher than the value range I can reach with paint. Down here I've got a very dark, and up here I've got very light, and that value range is much wider from dark to light than I can hit with paint, so I have to find a way to organise the values. But I have a strong feeling that that painting could end up on one of those panels. And if I end up working on it, it will probably be tomorrow, and I will probably post yeah, could put it in the fridge maybe, yeah. But then I've got to guard it from boys looking for treats. Do you think that would work out? I'm not sure if that would be a good idea. It might work out. It could work out, okay. You can see the sun is hitting the back wall there. That's a sure sign to me that I'm out of time. So it's too late now for me to start a stream. So from next week, let's make sure I'm actually on the camera. From next week, I'm going to start the streams earlier in the day. I'm going to start at 3 my time, which is 10 o'clock Eastern time and 7 AM Pacific. Because if I had more time now, say if I had another couple of hours, I would risk it and I would start the painting. I'm pretty sure I've got something there that was much nicer than what I started with, and I know the colour area that I'm in. I know what tube paints I'm going to need to get out, so I can mix these colours, and then I can start the creative process of making a painting. I think people sometimes think of this way of looking at colour as being uncreative, and perhaps taking some of the emotion and feeling out of painting. But to me, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as I think it allows me to be more expressive, and it allows me to put more of how I feel about a subject into a painting, if I'm not struggling to find the right colours to do it. That's the way I look at it anyway. So listen, sorry I didn't get any painting done today. Started too late, and the sun is in the room again. Miriam says, doesn't the yellow deep inside get more like a YR, yellow red, which would be an orange, than a Y or a GY because there's reflected red light from the redder petal above? Very likely. Very likely. So some of it I'll judge once I've actually got it sitting there in the subject. You can't really see any at the moment. On this one there's a very obvious green there. But I want to know, I always want to start with the local colour, and then I'll start thinking about how it's affected by the light and which way maybe the hue is being pulled as it goes from light to shadow. It's part of what makes roses tricky to paint, any flowers, because you get light coming through the petals which affects the colours. I think we agreed, didn't we, that we were going to call that transmitted light, which seems like a wise thing to me. You're welcome. So this is like this is early stage for me. Normally I would have this out of the way in the hour or two while I'm getting set up before I stream. This is the process that I would go through. So when I'm sitting here and you see the palette set up and I've already got some colour chips out, that's because I've already been through this process, you know. I'm still not 100% sure that that's going to be the composition. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm very taken with it. It's got some really, there's a kind of a mystery to the way the main parts of the roses are in shadow that I really like. Lisa says, can we see the painting from Tuesday? Yes, you can. There it is. Finished, except I just want to make no, maybe it is finished. There's a little bit that's bothering me right there that I just want to touch up, but I may do that later on today. I may do it tomorrow. But this one, I'm gonna put this one up for auction tomorrow, I think. I'm really happy with how it came out. I think all of for me anyway, all of the painting that I did with the daffodils and figuring out the values for those has helped me to kind of get into a way that's working better, where it's very simple in terms, I haven't painted all the detail that's there, it's very simple in terms of a light area and a shadow area. And I think very much, and like this is a light and shadow, light and shadow, light and shadow, light, shadow. I think very much in almost binary terms of light and shadow, and I think it's, and then balance the values as well as I can. And I'm finding the more I work, the more I paint flowers, that it's a really good way to approach them. So there you go. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Apologies again that I wasn't painting today. But I will be back on Tuesday, when I probably will be painting, and I may have this painting already done. We'll have to wait and see, and be on with another one, because I've got the yellow roses are almost out. So I've got those roses that I painted the other day. I've got these ones, and then the yellow roses growing around the corner. And then it has been known that I've gone past a garden or two in the village and borrowed a rose, because I really love the white ones as well. And my next door neighbour has some beautiful ones, so I'm going to ask her if I can borrow some of her white roses. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you again on Tuesday. Have a brilliant weekend. See you later.